the strings.
Alright guys, so this is some kind of discouraging news. Before I'd go home for the night, after I just finished filming yesterday's video, the car seemed to be running fine. I mean, it seemed like it was running on all cylinders and stuff like that. And so we filled it up with the 85, and then we drove it back to the shop, and I mean, we hit boost, we ripped it, like everything felt alright. We got back here before I pulled it in the shop. I went ahead and hit the two-step button and, you know, wide open throttle, pop, baby, you know, it kind of fell on its face. I think we might have found the limits of the stock piston. So at Small Tire Harvest in the data logs, this thing's seen 87 or 8900 RPM. It was pretty sure it's seen 8900 RPM at least once or twice. Stock valve springs, all that other stuff. Stock pistons, it also seen about, based upon what it was, 268 kPa. Which divide that by 6.8 and minus like 13 atmospheric, that's like 23 or 26. So it's seen a decent amount of boost, and I think it's about 14 degrees of timing. So lots of boost, lots of RPM, and so what I did is I decided to pull the plugs on here, and went ahead and was checking all those guys out, and nothing was crazy, like right out of the ordinary. And then so what I did is I was shining my little pen light in the hole, and I was looking at number 1, and it looked like there was some little tapping stuff. Like, I don't know if this will actually let me zoom in and actually let you guys see too. Okay, yeah. See, like the little bitty tappy stuff on the top of the piston right there? It almost looks like that might be a piece of ringland. And then if we come over here to the cylinder 2, cylinder 2 I thought was interesting, but cylinder 2 basically had oil in it. It was a little bit wet on the top, which it didn't show it on the plug, which I just turned it off after doing a little bit of two-step stuff and just tried to decide to do this. So maybe it was some fuel too. Did a compression test on it, and it's pretty low. So first one was 170, third one was 165, the fourth one over here is, you can see that's a little over 175. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do for you guys is I'm going to give you a little compression test of this number 2, and we're going to go through this together, and I'm actually going to show you guys how low this bad dog is. And so I don't think we're going to be running a 9 tomorrow, and I'm not sure if this happened when we encountered each other, or if it was the two-step, or what exactly was happening. So see, I'm going to get this set up where you guys could potentially see it. And we're going to go crank it over. Oh, and my starter sounds amazing too. So you can see right there, we're not even out of the box yet. So that's not even 1 bar. That's like 5 psi of compression on the number 2 cylinder. So I almost am assuming that it popped a ringland and maybe shot it out of the intake or something, and it maybe got in cylinder 1, and that's why there's some little dings, or maybe cylinder 1 popped a ringland too. But yeah, she's freaking 0 compression on that cylinder. I think that's why it was kind of falling on its face, and I think that's why when we were maybe driving it out to the meet, that maybe that's why it was so rich, why it was 10 OAFR, because it's never been like that before. And maybe that's because that cylinder, just all the fuel wasn't getting burned, so it was just shooting it in the exhaust. So that's kind of my assumption. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's I mean, it's not necessarily discouraging because it's data. You know, it's one of those things. Like, everybody says that you can't do this and you can't do that. Who's done that? You know, it's like, how do you know it's done this? How do you know it can do that? And I mean, I'm not going to say that every single person's freaking valve springs are not going to float at 8,900 RPM at 26 pounds of boost or 24 pounds of boost, you know, and you're going to make it down the track without it blowing up. Maybe I'm lucky it survived that for the amount of time that I did, but look at it now, you know. Who knows exactly what exactly happened with that. So I think kind of the plan for this is, I really hadn't planned on doing this tomorrow. I was planning on going to the track, but I think we're actually going to pull the engine and actually take it apart and see what that thing is all about. I didn't want to be using this thing yet, and it's gonna be a secret. So you guys are gonna see this in the next clip. A guy actually sent me out an engine stand that's gonna make pulling out the engine on this thing so much easier. And I didn't want to use it, did not want to use this thing yet, but here we are. I think we're gonna have to use it. Stay tuned till tomorrow. Yeah, she sounds hurt. She definitely sounds hurt. So we're gonna see, I'm gonna get it to two-step and see if it'll... Sad day. That was 8,500 RPM rev limit, just for funnies, because it's already broken. Maybe it was a two-step, maybe it was something else, but she's definitely hurt, boys. Apologize. So came back to the shop today and kind of had a little bit of an epiphany, just because the car has like 0 compression. It doesn't have like 5 psi, it doesn't have 10, doesn't have 20. Whereas I was assuming that we reached the limit of like the stock pistons and we maybe like cracked a ringland or broke a piston or something like that. But then I also remember that we were revving this thing to freaking 8,900 RPM and doing a bunch of stuff like that. So I'm kind of assuming what was happening is we actually bent a valve, and I think we just confirmed that. I'll go ahead and stick this on right here. So basically, I'm just hooking up the shop air, the air compressor, to the air compressor tester. You have to pull the Schrader valve out of here, or else it's just like a tire, it like won't release it. But you pull that out, and then you pressurize the cylinder. And this number 2 cylinder is at top dead center. And as you can see, we're spooling the turbo with how much air is actually going through there. So I think it just bent a valve. So I guess that's kind of a good thing. I guess we could continue pushing these stock pistons and stuff a little bit further. So I think I'm gonna try moving this thing here in a little bit to get it over here on the lift, and then actually try to pull the head off of it, and see how far we get with that, and see how bent that exhaust valve is.
Yelling at him or what? Ready? 3, 2, 1, go!
Yeah, so maybe this is faster than the Civic.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it.
That's definitely.
Yeah, that was 29 pounds.
Yeah.
That's tough though. Alright, so we just got back from taking the Super for a little cruise to dinner, and me and Dave actually run into our buddy Carlos that we ran into last night in the Civic in the Super. So we had some quick little fun runs with him, and that was pretty cool. So yeah, I got the Civic over here on the lift, and man, I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be able to pull the head off in the car. just because you have like the timing mount and stuff over here, and then to get up to all the timing chain stuff, you have to get to these bolts, which, I mean, honestly, that's actually a lot of room. I don't know why I was thinking I wouldn't be able to do that. So we could potentially just pull the head off in the car, which would save me a lot of time. Just basically have to pull off the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold, which is basically the stuff that I'd have to pull off anyhow if I was going to actually pull the whole engine and try to do something like that. So I guess we're going to start there, pull the intake and exhaust manifolds off of this thing, and pull the valve cover, and then we'll obviously be able to look and see if there's like a bent valve, because that spring should be compressed a little bit. Alright guys, so now we have a new piece of the puzzle, and I'm actually pretty excited about it. So, turns out the engine might actually not be bad. So, what happened basically is we went ahead and pulled off the intake manifold, the exhaust manifold, and was just getting ready to yank the head off of here. And I'm glad we did it. I said, hey Blake, will you just rotate the engine around? So he rotated the engine by hand, and I put my phone in the back with the light on, and I just basically watched the valve just go up and down. And I was like, that's weird, because I was expecting, you know, normally when you bend a valve, it bends it like that, and then it holds the valve spring shut. Whereas it was going through its full cycle just fine. And so I was like, that's really weird. So I was like, so I started playing with the valve lash, so I just kind of wiggled it. Hear that? You could hear like a little bit of actual looseness to it. It was super, super tight on this one right here. And almost how it is right now, where you can't hear anything. And I could just feel that there was a little bit of tension. So I was like, all right, well, before we go any further, I went ahead and cracked the nut, loosened it up a little bit. It went like a turn and a half, like loosening it off, like pressure. And I just did a little test on it. And take a look at this compression. So you physically seen these compression numbers like yesterday. Look at these guys. So here we are. Here's the compression tester. And this is number 2. 150 PSI. Whereas when we were doing the compression test on it the other day, it was like hot. Like literally just pulled it back in and got done driving it, and it was 175. So I think it's good. I think we get well, obviously like a valve lash adjustment all across the board, but now it has 150 compression when it had like literally 0. Wouldn't even bump the gauge at all. And so I think we're okay. So I guess like we just gotta put it back together. I mean, that's better than ripping it all apart. So just for a quick confirmation, we did one which was 175 PSI the other night, and you could see exactly where number 2 lined up, which was at 0. So, I mean, I thought like this thing was going to be down for a while, and oh look, it's shooting oil everywhere because of the oil feed. But yeah, I thought this thing was going to be down for a while, and I was just gonna like, because I told you guys like if we pull this thing out of here, we're not putting like another stock one back in it. And I didn't want it to be down because I haven't ordered any of the built motor parts, because I was super stoked that this thing was actually like holding together. But now, I mean, we just got to do a valve adjustment, I guess, and stick it back to it. Blake, what do you think about that?
It's better than pulling out the motor.
I mean, do you think it'll run it? I mean, the stupid thing is like that super simple thing, like if I wouldn't have double checked the timing or you know, double check the valve lash real quick or watch the valve cycle, like I could have spent all night on this thing. Or like I thought the other day, like I was literally just getting ready to pull the engine out of this thing, and I thought I like broke a piston. Like I've been texting all my friends and I'm like, hey, I found the limits of the stock piston, and you know, like 26 pounds of boost to, you know, whatever, how much, I mean, that's, if this thing's on 26 pounds of boost, it's probably making well over, I'd say close to 7.
What would it make on 600?
It made 16 on like 23 or 24. And that was on a 2-liter. And this is on a 2.4, revving higher than we no, I think we revved that one about the same. But still, I mean, it's a freaking beast. And you haven't even rode in it since. You rode in it the first day, huh? But that was on like,
yeah.
That was when we had it on, I think that was like 20 pounds. I don't even think, I had the duty cycle way down.
Yeah, I wasn't hitting 26 or 23 even. It was still fast though.
I think that was like 18, 19 pounds when Blake rode in it. And that was the day when we were, I don't know what we were doing, but we were just freaking giving it the sand.
Drags.
Yeah, and you drove it to the drags,
and
yeah.
then a cop almost got me.
Yeah, because you were getting ready to do a
Every
pull.
time I'm in your car, I always get almost pulled over.
You know, the thing that, you know, the nice thing is right now though, is we could actually hook up the heater core. Because that's one thing that I've really been missing in this thing, is I went and cruised it the other night and it was just freaking ice cold. So it would be nice to actually hook up the heater core in here, and especially now that it's going to be winter. So it's almost not a waste of time that we pulled all this stuff off, because I do have a Bosch like 2-pin knock sensor that I want to install on the front of this thing, so I could actually get some actual, you know, like a good knock protection in this thing. So that way, if it's actually knocking, like it'll pull timing. Whereas right now there's no knock sensor in it, so it's just going to do what it's going to do. But yeah, it would be nice to hook up the heater core. You can see I just have it looped right there, and all I have to do is run some lines straight over to there to the heater core, and then maybe try to put one of those valves or something in it. What else can I do? The starter has been being super weird on this thing. If you heard this thing cranking, watch, listen to this thing. It just sounds like a freaking box of rocks. Uh-oh. Freaking pouring oil out of it. But, yeah, I mean, I guess now's a good time to pull that starter out, see if the starter's messed up, and, look at that. Do the valve lash. Alright guys, so I made an executive decision to stop working on this thing for the night. I went ahead and put the valve cover on it. It's nice that we have we got the compression back in the cylinder. So you can see I have that knock sensor right there. And so that requires a shielded wire to basically get a clean signal. So when we had the factory knock sensor in here, this is the factory knock sensor wiring. You can see it's not a shielded wire. And so we just got a lot of noise. Like at idle in the data logs or just watching the knock sensor, like it was just sitting there like flickering basically. And so that data, basically you can't really do anything with that. And that's why we have this aftermarket Bosch sensor in there, which gives us, it's a lot more accurate, and it's just going to be a lot better, and you could actually kind of fine tune it to, you know, especially with the shielded cable or the shielded wiring going to it, we won't pick up any of the engine noises. I believe we were picking up with a non-shielded wire on the factory knock sensor. So that way we could add just a little bit more safety to the engine, and yeah. So the other thing I need to do is hook up heater hose things, and then put the downpipe or put the turbo and all that stuff back on. But like I said at the beginning of this video, we actually had the guys over at Vane Engine Stands. They sent me out actually 2 stands. They sent me out a K20 stand, and they sent me out a K24 stand because I had both of them in here. And I was talking to them around the time that the first engine blew up, and I seen their stuff on Instagram, and I was like, man, I need one of those things. And so I really appreciate them for sending it out. But I thought we were actually going to be able to use it in this actually application, and I'm super stoked that we actually, you know, all it was just the valve lash needed adjusted. But I have this K24 right here. So this is the engine out of the CRV that I robbed the transmission out of, and then this is the TSX 6-speed transmission that I robbed the initial K24 A2 off of. And as you can see, this is kind of what you could expect. We thought we were being efficient. We bought one of these one of these little dolly plates from Harbor Freight, and we thought, oh, you know, this is a good one because it's metal. Well, as you can see, sitting on there. I mean, I think it was probably a month later we were pushing this thing around the shop and it just was like bloop and just broke like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this Vane engine stand unboxed and actually mount. I know this is a very ugly engine, but at least it'll kind of give you guys an idea, and we could actually move this thing around the shop and work on it or do some other stuff, because it could potentially be going in Ty's CRX. Potentially be going in. To be continued. We'll talk about that in the future. If you guys have followed me on Instagram, I did post a picture on my story probably like 2 weeks ago and said, should we save it? And I think there's like an 80% like freaking thumbs up on that thing, so maybe we should probably do that. But let's open that up. So they sent us out some stickers. We got some walnuts. These are walnuts from when Blake was walnut blasting his intake valves on his N54. He was in here. He was doing the high pressure fuel pump and walnut blasting that stuff the other day. As you can see, we got my BMW. Little update on this. There's that whole quarter panel skin thing that I was looking for on Instagram. There's not one in the country, so we can't get one of those. But if any of you guys have hookups on BMW parts, hit me up. So we're gonna go ahead and get this guy open. So we got K20. And we got K24. Alright guys, just got this K24 A4 mounted on this stand, and I tell you what, look at that. What an upgrade over that thing. That thing was literally dragging the ground, and I had to pull it super freaking hard. And you can see we got like some scratch marks like going all the way over there. So, but man, look at that. So basically went ahead and put the engine, these little brackets on first, and then kind of lifted it up, because when we set it down, then it kind of went to the right angle. And if you could see the angle of this right now, you could actually see that the oil pan is pretty damn level. And the angle of that is actually the same angle that it goes in the car. So right now, as I was gonna call it a Subaru, as the Civic sits, we could drop the engine out, or you could bolt these legs to the engine in the car and then literally just set it down and take your engine mount bolts out.
Yeah, casters feel good. They're nice. I was worried about, because they seem pretty small, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, there's four of them though. So yeah, I mean, those casters are perfectly fine. And the nice thing is too, is you can see that this transmission is actually on here. There's a little bit of extra support hanging off the back, so you could actually do a full transmission service. Not service, but you could yank the transmission off, do a clutch service, do all that stuff, bolt it all on in the actual, basically how it is on the stand. You could yank the oil pan if you want, pull the head, do all the timing stuff on it, and it's really a super trick design. And the guys over there actually do all this stuff in their garage, which is crazy. They did just get a shop, but I see them on Instagram just freaking hustling every day. So if you guys would, if you could do me a favor and follow them on Instagram and tell them that Motion Auto sent you. But yeah, I really appreciate them sending it out and hooking us up with this thing. They also do their own in-house powder coating as well, which is crazy. But yeah, they've been killing it lately. I mean, they're freaking shipping like pallets of these things out like every week. It's nuts. So if you guys are interested in that, I will put the link in the description. And again, appreciate them sending it out. Out of breath for some reason. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I don't know.
But what should we do the CRX?
We have to look. It might be a lot to it, man. I think you're underestimating how much work it could be. It's.
I mean, I was looking at it the other day. I'll put the picture that I took of it the other
They
day.
will put the before what it used to be, and it's clear.
So it used to have a K series in it, and so it already has the mounts. I mean, we have a 24. I have
technically K ready, you know.
but it would probably need a lot of little things, and it's been sitting outside. Somebody busted out the window in it, so it's been sitting outside without basically a window in it for the past
2 years at least.
no.
When did we find the window? Probably 3.
I mean, it's been probably 4 years,
Wow.
a solid 4 years. So the interior is definitely going to need some stuff. Wiring, I mean, you could barely see the thing because the freaking weeds are growing up so tall around it. But I don't know. Let us know in the comments what you guys think we should do with that. If we should do maybe like an exclusive like members only build or something like that. I don't know. We're thinking about that. But I'm gonna get this thing buttoned up probably tomorrow or the next day when that other that sensor wiring shows up. But I think that's it for tonight, guys. I really appreciate you guys watching, and be sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed, and then give the video a thumbs up.